How you doing? This is Coffee Break with Jimmy. I was watching TV this morning. I got up and Trump was speaking at the UN. And I did my last couple of podcasts about Charlie Kirk. And I tell you, I don't know, maybe Trump was a little fired up about Charlie. Because I think, Trump is that way anyway. Trump, he's got, I wouldn't say a filter, but he doesn't speak politically correct. He just tells the truth. And that's what he was doing here at the UN today. He was telling the truth. But I think Charlie Kirk kind of fired him up a little bit. And he just, now that's my own opinion, but he did a really good job at the UN today. He really attacked the UN. He went after him. He was telling him about the things that he had done for the United States, okay? You know, it got the prices down for groceries and gas and different things that he's done in the first 7 months. He's ended pretty much 7 different wars or conflicts that have been going on for a number of years. Some of them have been well over 30 years. These conflicts have been going on. And Trump, if there's ever been a president that really wants peace, he doesn't want killing. He doesn't want killing of other countries. In fact, he says, that he loves Europe. He doesn't want this stuff to go on in Europe. This whole thing about all these wars going on because of Ukraine and what's going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip. He spoke about that a lot. But he says, the UN. And he goes, the UN he did say this, the UN has tremendous potential, but they don't do anything. They have the potential to get things done. They're supposed to be representative of all the nations in the United Nations, and they're supposed to represent everybody, but he says all they ever do is just write a heavy letter to whatever they're going to go after, whether it be some country that's in some other country that's got a war going on or something. They don't follow up. Where Trump does follow up, and he goes, especially like these other wars, and personally the wars that he stopped, these 7 different conflicts, I believe he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, and he also they've said that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for the Abraham Accords, the different countries he brought into work with and to trade with Israel. And they're all working together. And it's going to get bigger. It's going to get better. But he really attacked the UN today and tell him that, the things that he's done himself for other countries, not just the United States, but for other countries, but mainly for the things that he's done in the United States, where he's gotten everything back down. He's got our GDP up there. He says at one time during the Biden, and he did mention that straight up, during the Biden administration, he goes, we're like the laughingstock of the world. No one had any respect for us, and rightly so. Joe Biden didn't do anything. Apparently, this is how the world viewed us. And so he got us back on top. He said we're the number 1 country in the world. We're on fire. We're just everybody wants to be part of our trade and do things with us, with the United States. And this has been going on now for a while since he's been in office. And but the UN, he spoke at the UN today, and he says, I don't want to be politically correct. I just want to tell the truth. So he told the truth about other countries like China and how the carbon footprint in China and other countries around China, where they didn't belong to the Paris Climate Accord, and he got out of that because it was all. China got away with it, India got away with it, and the United States. Well, we had tapped down our carbon footprint, which we have. We've been doing it for a number of years. But even other countries, European nations, have been doing the same thing, and he gives them credit for that. He gave Germany a lot of credit for doing what they were actually going the other direction, and they got new leadership in Germany, and they started getting things back to normal. And he gave a lot of credit to Germany for that. But the UN, he even mentioned that he made a bid, and he goes, this guy named Donald J. Trump made a bid several years ago 15 years ago, whatever it was, he put in a bid to rebuild the United Nations building. And he gave them a bid for like $500 million. Although they didn't take his bid, they decided to go a different direction. And the way they went, and it ended up costing them $1.2 billion or $1.5 billion, where Donald Trump was going to charge them $500 million. Now, he said, I would have got this done with guarantees. I would have got it done. Would have had marble floors and different, mahogany walls instead of plastic walls. And he goes, and that's what you have in the UN, but it's cost them more money going the other route than giving the bid to Donald Trump. And he goes, I would have got this done. And this is before he became president the first time. So he had a little issue with the UN about that. And then he goes, and I get here today, and the First Lady and I are heading up the escalator, and then the escalator stopped. And he goes, luckily that First Lady and I are both, healthy human beings, or we would have fell. But we stopped, and then not only did we got the UN gave us an escalator that didn't work, and UN gave us teleprompters. I had teleprompters that didn't work, but now they're back on. He was talking about that. And but he was reading. He was reading off his own script and talking off the cuff like he normally does anyway. But he had so much to say, and he wasn't letting the UN off the hook. All the countries, no one said a word. Everybody. In fact, I guess he spoke to the UN the UN General of. Whatever his title is, that he spoke to him afterwards, and they really wanted to get things done. And he talked about how bad Brazil was doing, and he talked to Brazil on the way up. When he was on his way up to speak, Brazil had just got done. And he let them know, and then him and Brazil, President Trump and Brazil, the Brazilian president, they're going to have talks later and try to get things straightened out in Brazil. The same thing with the UN National General. They're going to have talks about different things that can be done. He goes, the UN has such great potential, and they don't use it. And he goes, in fact, when I stopped these 7 different conflicts, the UN never even called them, asked him if he needed any assistance, and they didn't do anything. They didn't assist him in any way. He did it all on his own, from him and his administration. And so just listening to this morning, talking about the UN and the different things that he's done, that he has done here for the United States, and he says other countries can do the same thing. Because other countries, you're destroying yourselves. We're not the only ones, I guess, with the migrant problem here in the United States. I guess other countries got the same problem. And he goes, you're letting the migration continue in other countries, and you're destroying your own country by doing this. And he goes, we stopped it here, and because we stopped it and the different things that we're doing to get that all under control, it's helping our country. It's helping our country flourish now because of the things that he's doing. And I guess I've used this word before, but Trump is setting a template for the rest of the world to use, man. It's just follow his lead, right? Anyway, he really hammered him. He told him the truth. He didn't pull any punches. And other countries should follow his lead. And I tell you, this is a leader. President Trump is the ultimate leader, and he's doing so much better now. I mean, this is just the beginning of this presidency, this go around. He did so well last time, and I think he stepped it up. Not even one step, but 3-4 steps more. He's doing so much better today than he did in the first presidency. I'm excited about what's going to happen. But I really think this Charlie Kirk, because, of course, he went to the Charlie Kirk, his send-off on Sunday they had in Arizona, and that was really good. And I talked about it in my last podcast, and we're going to do another podcast, find out what Jimmy Kimmel does tonight, because I guess they got him back on an ABC. But there's a lot of ABC affiliates that still don't want to televise Jimmy Kimmel, so we're going to see what happens. but I spoke about that yesterday. But he didn't pull any punches on the UN and other. I mean, individual countries. He's named individual countries. The things about China that China's done, and what they've done as far as well, they didn't talk too much about the virus and what was going on there, but he did mention the COVID thing that happened, several years ago. And but everybody knows that that came from China. At least that's what I believe, and I think what Trump believes also. But the UN has got such great potential to do great things and to do the things that it was designed for that whole organization to do, to help countries as together, to help each other together. And whether one country needs help from another or however that works with the UN, they don't do anything. And they haven't done anything. And Trump was just letting them know. And I just thought, he did a great job today speaking at the UN. But this guy here, he just, from one day to the next, he's always doing something positive, everything going positive in the positive direction. And I think that's what he did today. And I think he made an impact at the UN today. So if anybody gets a chance to watch that whole thing about the UN, you're just going to be amazed at how Trump handled himself. And I was. And but I'm always amazed at the way Trump handles himself, because he even said that I'm good at this, and he goes I don't mean to be braggadocious. He used that word. I don't mean to be braggadocious, and he goes, but usually when I say something's going to happen, or anticipate this is going to happen, or anticipate that's going to happen, and I say, this is what I believe. He goes, I'm usually right. And he goes, and I am. I'm usually never wrong. And when you think about it, he's right. He's usually never wrong, or he's right there on point somewhere along those lines there. He might have something a little bit that might be done a little bit different, or could be done a little bit different, but it's all along the same lines. I tell you what, Trump is the best leader we've ever had as our president. And I've said it before, I would really like him to run again in 28. But that would be selfish of me. It's almost like Charlie Kirk. I mean, Charlie Kirk, for 31 years old, he'd done so much, and he's such a well-read person. He knows a lot of different situations that he actually had debates on. Excuse me. He has actually had debates on at different colleges. And I mentioned that they had 62,000 new chapters that wanted to join Turning Point. But he was so well read about this stuff. And Trump is the same way. He's very well read. He's got all this information. He just talks about it off the cuff, and that's just very impressive. And I think because of the template, again, I've used that term before, because of the template that he has set, and if other countries would follow his lead, we'd be a better world. So if you get a chance to watch that, sometime they'll replay it or something, or they'll play different excerpts of it on the news, I'm sure. But he did a really good job at the UN today, and like I said, it's not to mean braggadocious, but he's usually right. And so anyway. Have a listen to that. So this is Coffee Break with Jimmy. And please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we will see you next time.